Shalom Aleichem and welcome to Online Smicha. With all the preparations for getting ready for Pesach and the level of stress that people have, making sure there's not even a smallest crumb, a mashu of chametz, because that's what you didn't do. So there was a suggestion that once came up, and there's a story behind this. The great Baron Rothschild once showed the Babiv Rebbe, Reb Shlomo Babiv, gave him a tour of his house. And as he was showing him his house, he also showed him a designated back house or a room or whatever it was. And he says that apartment, that room, those rooms are only for Pesach. So it seems to be that this is the best thing to have. Have designated if you're able to have a designated apartment for Pesach. Never bring in their chametz, and so comes Pesach time, you move out of your regular house. You sell that house to the goy for Pesach, and you have a Pesach house. Is that the right way, or perhaps no? There is an inyan to be involved in cleaning the house for Pesach. So the story is told that when Baron Rothschild showed the Babiv Rebbe his house and this Pesach house, the Babiv Rebbe wasn't so impressed, and he expressed himself. And he says, Chazal say, Kol sheyesh bekum achol matzah yeshnim bebal teichol chametz. In other words, that the mitzvah of eating matzah goes hand in hand with the mitzvah of not having chametz. And we also know that the matzah could only be made from ingredients that, if you're not careful, could become chametz. In other words, there has to be some kind of involvement in getting rid of chametz, and if you are involved in getting rid of chametz, then you fulfill the mitzvah. Then the mitzvah of eating the matzah is in a much higher level. So there was something that from the expression the Babiv Rebbe said that mashma that you should be doing some kind of cleaning. And I saw in a sefer that they were discussing why not take the easy road, and that is, have if you're able to, have a back house, only pay, never bring in their chametz, and you won't have to get down and dirty and clean and all the stress. So the Gemara says in Maseches Menachos, Daf Lamed Amud Aleph, Halekeach Sefer Torah min hashuk, one who buys a Sefer Torah from the marketplace, just goes and pays the bill, buys a Sefer Torah. It's a nice thing, but it's kechoytef mitzvah min hashuk. The credit that you get is as if you found a quick mitzvah. You did a quick mitzvah. You bought it. You had a couple of dollars. You bought a Sefer Torah. It's nice, but it's a quick deal. Then the Mukhi Yosef explains that for somebody who takes money that he has and he buys a quick Sefer Torah, even though Sefer Torah is a special thing, if you don't get as much schar as a person who actually was involved in the writing, either he wrote it himself, or he found somebody and got more involved just to pay a bill, chaplap. You did a mitzvah, but it's not the same level of being involved, because when you do think when it's easy come, easy go, then the Mukhi Yosef says, then the midas hadin, the midah of judgment could say, he doesn't deserve that much credit. The biggest proof is it came easy, so he did it. If something comes more difficult for him, he wouldn't do it. If, however, he writes the Sefer Torah himself, or he hires a sofer and he gets more and more involved, and he's involved in the preparing of the klaf, and involved throughout the whole period of time, now the Chazal say Ke'ilu Kibla me Har Sinai. That Sefer Torah is as if you received it from Har Sinai, because now the Midas Rachmim could say, look how much effort he invested in this mitzvah. And that's the same, if just like he invested all this time and effort to do this mitzvah, could you imagine if he was around by Har Sinai, he would also walk through the midbar, the desert, 40 days. He would be there, because no stumbling block, no challenge will stop him from doing what's right. So according to this, it's mashma that if you are involved in the preparing for Pesach, there is a much higher schar. If, however, somebody just makes a quick fix, just to have another apartment, it's lacking. We find the same thing in Shalos Tshuvas Avnei Nezer, on Orach Chaim Siman Shin Ayin Beis. He says there is an inyan, you could buy matzah, and then there's an inyan besides for the point of mitzvah boy yosem b'shluchei, being involved and having your own chabur, and you, besides for the Indian, that you could supervise and make sure whatever chumrah you may have happens by your baking of the matzah, but it's more than that. When you're involved in the mitzvah, you get much more schar. And this is the lashon he says, Lama nima b'mitzvah chaviva ma'od. Why should we minimize this special mitzvah which we have once a year? Once a year you eat matzah. Why should you cheapen it and just buy from the store some matzah? So we see the involvement in the matzah, the involvement in the mitzvah shows the importance and the schar you will get. The Gemara says in Maseches Sotah that Avram Avinu, Vayita Esho. What is Vayita Esho? So the Gemara says, Amar Eish Lakish, Malamed Avram, the Malamed that teaches us that Avram Avinu planted all goodies to grow, so he should have for people, he should have for his family, he should have for guests. Avram Avinu wasn't satisfied just to pay a bill and go to the store and shop. Avram Avinu got involved in planting and the hechsher mitzvah and the chana mitzvah, and the more you invest, the more profit you get.